Hey, good morning. Happy science people, and happy Hanukkah and happy holidays. This is in lieu of our December meeting. What I want to do is go over essentially what we're going to be doing in January and February. Remember that at the beginning of quarter two, we're going to be um, trying out for about 2.5 weeks, a 7 period day, which means that we're going to be at least or right at around 45 minutes. Now, per class. What that means is it's going to be a little bit different than what your current first period is. Your current first period is around 50 and some change. And what that means is you're going to need, for those of you that seem to be sort of behind your cap, you're going to need to be highly structured to maintain your speed and maintain your instructional rhythm. So one of the things I'm going to distribute with this video, or that you should have in this video, is the Science in the 45. What I did is I took a classic lesson planner, and what I want you to do is walk in to our next meeting, which is the end of January. Now that doesn't seem like a lot, but I want you to take a lesson out of marking period two, specifically during those 2 weeks, and that'll be in the email as far as when those 2 weeks are. I'm going to take a prospective lesson, decide with your cap, and I want you to work through it. So I know that I don't ask for lesson plans, but this time I am, because I want to see you guys giving a structure to this, and I need to be able to know the date and when it is, so I can come in and give you some feedback as a cap. So obviously, you're going to need to know your DCI. That's going to be your like, what is it that your students are learning? What content? What are you going to be assessing? And so that DCI is typically what we think of as like students will be able to do whatever, and the SCP is how they're doing it, and the cross-cutting concepts is how this is like a big pattern. And you'll find this in your curriculum guide, and it's what I need you guys to focus in on as you think through. Now, the next thing, whenever we do lesson planning in general, and I know you know this, so just reviewing this, is thinking about your assessment before you even get to how you're going to do the lesson. So, what is your assessment? What is the style? When is it? Is it at the end of the lesson? Is it a separate day from this lesson sequence? And what specifically is the task and are the questions? So that way, as you're designing the lesson, which is page two, you have a pretty clear understanding of what you're getting your kids to. I find with 90 minutes, I have a little more time when I transitioned into 90-minute teaching, both at the both at Northwood, and then when I came here, that I felt like I had a little bit more time. I had a little more wiggle room um, to get things done, to flex certain classes. Whereas in the 45, you don't. You're going to be right up to the bell every single time. So I gave you a lesson structure that I used quite a bit when I was doing my, I don't know, first 10 years of teaching, which is I like to think about two chunks. So a warm up, which is 3 minutes, because again, you don't have as much time, you don't have as much wiggle room, and you're going to be seeing them the next day. So your warm up is going to get shortened, and then you think of two chunks, an A chunk and a B chunk, or a lesson chunk. And if you're doing a lab, that that first chunk may get shortened down to only like 5 minutes, because you're going through the instructions of the lab. And lesson chunk two becomes doing the lab. And so for some of our labs, especially in seventh grade, um, and some in eighth grade, now that I think about it, you it may take you multiple days to work through a lab. And so as a cap, you're going to need to think about what is the natural break in where that lab is structured, so that way you can have students pause and pick back up. And so what that may mean is that you may have to divide your labs into an A part and a B part, to where the data from part A reinforces a concept, but is not necessary. Like, you don't need the exact chemicals or the exact things to carry over into part B. That also means for things like dissections, which thankfully we shouldn't have in quarter two. Things like dissections in the 45-minute block are going to be very intense, because you have distribution and cleanup and distribution, the actual exercise, the lab, and then cleanup all within 45 minutes. Because you really can't. I mean, you could with the frogs, but who wants to have those samples out for much longer than a day? And so it's not really conducive to that. So what I want you to do is really start thinking about that. Pick one lesson, and then we're going to look at it over um, in January. So that way you get some feedback from other caps from me before you jump into this. Because I know for some of you, it's been, like for me, it's been a decade since I've actually over a decade since I've last taught in 40, since I've taught over in 45. And for some of you, you've never taught in 45. And so that is going to be a big switch, because you're going to need to really step on the accelerator, but at the same time, make sure all kids are on the bus, right? Before you hit it. And the other piece that with 90 minutes, we often think about these chunks. We don't often have as many hard tying and closures that we need to. So it's something that we need to work on. I think universally, is just really starting to think through this. So what I want you to do again to review is pick a lesson in during the date span that we're going to have the 45-minute block in quarter two, the beginning of quarter two, and I want you to lesson plan that in January for January. It'll be in January probably, because you're not going to do it during this break. So that way you can come and get some feedback. If you have questions, please stop by. My door is open, though I may be a little frazzled with the holidays. So I hope you guys all have a great day, and I hope you enjoy this found time. Have a great day. Bye.